Hey everybody, Sean Bukowski here. Hope you're all having a great week. As you can probably tell, I am out of the office, so please excuse my appearance. But I'm in a beach town, so that's nice. Um, this week we're going to talk a little bit about something that has been popping up lately in a lot of our business, and that is disputes with vendors, contractors, all those kinds of things, and how we've seen them pop up a lot more lately. I think there's probably a reason for that, in that there's so much contract and construction going on in Austin and in Texas in general, and it's booming. Um, and then you have, maybe some contractors that aren't qualified doing business. Maybe they're having trouble finding subs, whatever. It's kind of led to a cauldron where you have a lot of different uh, issues coming up all the time. And so, we want to help our clients to make sure that if there is an issue that comes up, that you're covered. And so, one of the ways to do that, and I want to talk about this week, is making sure those contractor agreements are in writing. There's so many things that should be included in there, but right for this episode, for this blog entry, we're just going to talk about that they should be in writing. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, Texas has a statute of frauds, which there's a couple. If a contract can't complete it in a year, or if it's for the sale of real estate, if it's not in writing, it's not enforceable. Does that apply to you with your contract agreement? Maybe not. It might not. It might not. But that still doesn't mean you shouldn't. You can just do an oral agreement or something like that. You should absolutely be in writing, even if the statute of frauds doesn't apply, because what happens is, excuse me, when you have the contract in writing, it's just there's so much less room for debate about what was supposed to be done, whether it was done properly, whether it was done on time, and it erases a lot of the disputes that can come up between whether there was a breach. Whether you breached an oral agreement is very hard to determine if all you're relying on is each other's memory. Where if you have it in writing about what is supposed to be done, there's much less room for error and much less room for disagreement on whether the job was done, whether it was done satisfactorily, and then if it's not done satisfactorily, what your remedies are. And that's all so important in a written agreement. One thing to remember, though, if you don't have a written agreement, or if you don't think you have a written agreement, don't panic yet. So Texas has also adopted the Uniform Electronic Transactions Act, which means that, I mean, you probably know this, right? You sign things DocuSign, and that's as good as having anything, as good as a written signature. What that also means, though, is that other forms of electronic writings can possibly make up a contract. So the Texas courts have already weighed in on emails. Definitely, you can have multiple emails put together to make a contract. I think it's very possible that text messages can also be included in that. And a contract needs an offer, acceptance, and consideration. Those three things. And if you have that in, whether it's in multiple emails or an email and some text, that potentially could constitute a written agreement. So obviously, make sure our number one suggestion is to make sure you have all your contract agreements are in writing. But even if you have one now that's not, and you're having a dispute with your contractor, look to piece together. It might be a part of some emails or some texts or whatever that could form the basis of that written agreement. Hope this helps. We'll talk more about written agreements and contract agreements in the future. Otherwise, have a great week, and please subscribe to our blog and to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much.